This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's community access radio station Plains FM 96.9 and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
It's time for Emergence News on Plains FM 96.9, citizen-made radio.
Hello and welcome to Emergence News. My name is John and it's my task today to do the intro. And I sometimes feel that when we do these programs, at the end of the last one we talked about where to next. And when we talk about Maitreya and his mission, I think we miss the little personal picture. Many of us today are aware of and working towards the big picture, the major challenges facing humanity. Much of what Maitreya teaches also focuses on those major challenges. He also has for us, though, a more personal, deliberate and structured process that we can help and use that will push us along. So help us evolve, actually. And individual evolution will contribute to global evolution. So I've got a background in sales, and one of the tricks we used to try and elicit from our customers is that question, what's in it for me? And so I kind of thought, what's in it for our listeners? What have we got for them? So we started with, in a little bit of a group discussion here, what can I do personally to improve myself? What's in Maitreya's arsenal of change that I can apply to myself? What are the personal practices that I can use to carry me forward? So let's talk self-help. Anyway, who are we and what are we talking about? Listeners, you are living in the time of an avatar. Yeah, kind of like Buddha or Jesus or Krishna. A spiritual heavyweight is in your corner right now, waiting for you to ask for help. You've taken a beating. You may be down for the count, many of us are. But in your corner, waiting with the water bottle and the stitches and the tape, is the best corner man ever in the history of humanity.
I like the fact that you mentioned the water bottle. Because he's the water carrier.
He is the water carrier. He's one of a kind in the solar system. He's walking across the canvas floor of the ring right now and extending his hand out to you. Take it. It's the best help you'll ever get. He's going to stay right here with you for 2,500 years. His name is Maitreya, and he is the teacher of angels and men alike. In my corner, along with Maitreya, and I wish that for all of you listening, I also have Nigel and Peter. What do you have for us today, lad? Starting with you, Nigel.
Well, starting with me.
Yeah. I threw you then. I looked at Peter, but used your name.
Yes.
A bit of a head fake.
It's the element of surprise, and there's plenty of that, especially when you're doing the intro. Maitreya, well, his emergence means change, doesn't it, John?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the greatest change will be in the hearts and minds of humanity. So he's coming to teach us how to open our hearts.
Yes.
And we talk a lot about the 7 rays of energy and how the second ray of love is all important on this planet.
Right.
So, so we're talking about self-help, we're talking about self-realisation. We often talk about detachment, honesty of spirit.
Yeah.
What you think, what you say and what you do.
Yes.
The more aligned that is, the more you're on track with Maitreya's teachings.
Yeah. So you're asking people to be honest and sincere, Nigel?
Look in the mirror.
Ooh.
Ask the tough questions.
Okay. Peter, save us quickly.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to go into the meditation techniques which we've been given to come closer to our own souls, which will put us on side with the plan. And if we can accept that meditation will do this, then it's one way to get there. It's one way to help us achieve those goals.
The right royal road.
Indeed.
To enlightenment. So, Nigel, you've got some practicable concepts, and Peter, you've got a technique. Is that what I'm hearing from you guys?
Yep.
Okay, and I've been looking through the book, The Art of Living Within the Laws of Life. Also got some great ideas for us. Thanks, guys.
Great.
Peter,
Okay.
tell us what you've got.
Yes, well, as Maitreya has said, he is the architect, but we must do the work. So he and the masters will teach us, in fact show us, how to make a new civilization, but it's up to us to do the work. And one of the first steps, I believe, is to get ourselves in tune with the plan. And so I've thought, well, meditation, of course, is the link to our soul, which is the direct link to the hierarchy as well. Mm-hmm. So starting with meditation, we can become one with the plan. Maitreya says the key to self-enlightenment is honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment, as we've already mentioned. And those are the keys. They are the key to God enlightenment and self-enlightenment, exactly. In meditation, the aim is detachment. Do not get attached to the mind or spirit or body. If the meditation that you choose helps you release from the attachments of the mind, doesn't focus on the body, and helps bring about this detachment, then it will do some good. We, of course, advocate the transmission meditation as a way to achieve these goals, but there's plenty of other meditations that do work and do help people. But the transmission meditation will probably only attract those who have a desire to serve the world. It brings about a certain level of soul contact. It is the soul's desire to serve the world in some way. Transmission meditation provides a simple, easy form of very potent service to the world, because it is controlled by the masters, who have at their disposal tremendous spiritual energies. Mm-hmm. They do, don't they? Mm. And these energies, some of them are from the cosmos and out of our solar system altogether. And of course, they would actually bounce off us, off humanity, unless we can bring them down. So that's the idea behind transmission meditation. It is like a transmitter of electrical energy, and it's dropping the voltage down so that we can use it.
Be absorbed by humanity.
So, and the masters that you referred to, because they're master scientists, they know how developed our individual chakras are so that we can manage those energies that are being transmitted.
That's exactly right, Nigel. It's so important that we need at least 3 people in a group, but these groups are all around the world. So the groups are like substations, if you like, and because they're coming through the chakras of people, we're sort of on the same plane, if you like, as the rest of humanity, and so it's the energies are usable by humanity, and that's the idea behind it. And so the masters direct these energies, and it's important that we don't try and direct them ourselves, because we don't really know. We don't know enough.
Yeah. So that's that service aspect, isn't it? That's allowing your vehicle to be used in a bigger picture that you don't quite understand.
That's
right. There's an element of surrender, maybe?
Well, yes.
Sacrifice?
It is, I suppose, and you could say devotion. And it's exactly what Jesus did when he allowed the Christ to overshadow him for those 3 years of his mission, and he allowed the Christ to work through him. I mean, he wasn't actually born Jesus Christ, he was born Jesus.
Of Nazareth. Mm-hmm.
And he became Christed when the Christ was working through him.
Right, yeah.
Today, of course, we know these 2 individuals are separate individuals.
Maitreya and Jesus.
Yes. And so we know that. But there are many, of course, that are not aware of that fact. So there's several hundred of these transmission groups all around the world, and they meet regularly in a particular time or day. That's whatever's suitable for the group. And they sound aloud the great invocation, which was given to humanity in 1945 by Maitreya to give us the technique for invoking the energies which would transform the world and prepare for his coming by the sounding of this great mantram, with the attention focused on the ajna center between the eyebrows, a conduit is formed between the group and the hierarchy of masters. Through that conduit, the masters send their energies. So often we feel these energies, don't we, when we're transmitting in a group. Sometimes we don't feel them. It depends a lot, really, on
the rays.
Yes, on what rays are coming in and what ray our own chakras are, what our soul ray is, all sorts of.
And maybe how well you're holding alignment.
Exactly, it's most important. And it's interesting that the Japanese win the awards for holding alignment, isn't it?
Yeah.
I spoke to a Japanese lady once, and I said this, that they've got a record of holding alignment very well. She said, yes, well, she said the children used to be beaten if they didn't shut up and be still.
So they have a cultural attitude towards focus.
They do, and it certainly benefits them when it comes to meditation, because, it may seem pretty harsh and brutal, but...
spiritually speaking, it's very supportive, isn't it? Teaches self-discipline.
In fact, one of the things that is embarrassing about transmission is when you start and you're trying to focus, and you notice how often your mind wanders away.
I know.
What an undisciplined thing it is, the human mind.
It was just like a monkey. It just darts from here to there, back again, and it's very difficult to hold this attention. But once you're holding the attention on the Ajna Centre, time just disappears, and you have an hours-long meditation and you think 10 minutes has gone by. And so we're moving into a realm of a different sort of dynamic altogether, aren't we? It's hard to describe it, but sometimes the meditation just goes so fast, and other times you just end up fidgeting.
Yeah, well, the monkey does anyway.
Yes, that's right. So, that's really that's the reality of what happens, and so we do our best, but it is a means of, once we hold we use the Om to hold our attention on the Ajna chakra. And this is the sound that particular chakra makes, isn't it, with regard to contacting. Once that is actually the soul contact is through the Ajna Centre. And so once we can hold that centre, we are virtually in charge of in contact with the soul.
And it's a pretty powerful mantra, the Om.
Yes.
It's a cosmic sound. That's that's the base of it, isn't it?
It is, yes, and it's used by so many of the religions, and
you can feel it vibrating.
Yes.
Almost. It's almost resonating when you're doing it.
It does.
In transmission, it's an incredible sensation.
And so we certainly would recommend anyone give this a go, but certainly if that's not your cup of tea, think seriously about meditation of some sort. These TM meditation, these various other meditations that are available and that sort of thing. There's plenty of books on it now.
Right.
So. And we certainly can get hold of the Transmission Meditation book through our website.
Through the website, and you can download it for free. Print it off for free. Great book.
It is. Thank you very much. This is the Emergence News on Plains FM. For more information, go to shareinternational.org.
Thank you very much, Peter. You know, the three of us sitting here, we could talk meditation for hours. And Peter was just saying that he didn't get through half of his research because of the talk that we started. Sorry, Peter, we'll come back to it another time.
That's all good value.
Now, I'm going to throw to Nigel. That's a technical term, Nigel. Tell us, what have you got?
Well, as we hinted earlier, John, Maitreya his emergence, his gradual emergence means change, and probably the greatest change since 2,000 years ago when Jesus of Nazareth was with us in Palestine. The construction of a new civilization requires new political, economic, religious, and that's an interesting one, isn't it? Religious and social structures. So there's a lot of change amongst us now, and we are living in a time of crisis, aren't we?
Absolutely.
So currently some governments are working hard at eradicating poverty. You hear Jacinda Ardern talking about it frequently in the news. Why are the poor always with us? I asked myself. Why is sharing necessary? And Maitreya has an answer. He says, we have the poor with us because we never share. if we shared, there would be no poor. And we've talked about this concept on the program a lot, haven't we, over the last few years? The concept of sharing. And we find it very difficult because it goes against that inclination to aspire towards material gain.
Yeah, to gather to yourself.
Hoard stuff and all that sort of thing.
Greed.
So
It used to be one of the 7 deadly sins. Now it's like something we aspire to be greedier. I am the greediest. And that's how we shape our community.
yes, and a lot of our cultures around the world celebrate it. The change of consciousness which is taking place is even more profound than any outer changes in the world. Obviously, these structural changes are necessary. However, the outer is always a reflection of the inner. Inwardly, we, humanity, are distraught. Inwardly, there's a disharmony with ourselves. There's a disharmony with the environment and with our friends and with our family. The more we are in equilibrium, the more the environment is in equilibrium. This is the basis of the need for what Maitreya calls harmlessness. Harmlessness is the primary need of all people. Benjamin Creme used to say harmlessness is actually just sheer common sense. That's one of the reasons why I like his books, because he just puts it in layman's terms so simply, doesn't he? It's just common sense, because every thought, every action sets in motion a cause or causes. And we know that as the law of cause and effect, or karma. Creme also says consciousness grows by aspiration towards that which lies above it. Aspiration results from the downflow of energy from the soul, poured down into the instrument, into man. This energy brings about a response in us through our thoughts and our way of life, and this results in a shift, and at this crucial time, causing this change in the investigations, writings and teachings into the world, taken up by publications and media of all kinds. This is gradually saturating the mind belt of the world. Okay, guys, just quickly, what's the mind belt? Can you talk about this quickly?
We can, I think, but I don't know about quickly.
Go, Peter, go.
Well, I mean,
guess it's the consciousness.
The thoughts come down from the mind belt. People eventually tune into the mind belt. They progress to a point where they can tune into it. This is why you get the same invention happening all around the world at the same time.
That's right.
So we almost have a communal database
that we can tap into when we're ready to.
It's the 100th monkey sort of thing. It's in the consciousness, and it's sort of there ready for us to tune into.
Yeah.
And of course, that 100th monkey syndrome or concept, that when that happens, it happens very quickly, all of a sudden, doesn't it?
Right, it does.
We are currently living in an era in which what was once termed magical or mysterious or mystical is now taken for granted as facts in nature. Our modern communications, television, radio, electrical communications, technology, has led us to an interconnectedness of all aspects of life: travel, education, news, health and education and communication. The Tibetan master DK, through Alice Bailey, said the investigation of nature is going forward apace. And of course that was back in the 20s and 30s she was writing this, but it's actually even more relevant now, isn't it? People are beginning to discover that you cannot separate the man or woman looking at the world from his or her experience of the world. Maitreya says through harmlessness we create the conditions in which we make no negative karma. Many of you will be familiar with that term karma, the weight of our own individual karma. Study the real meaning of this law, the law of cause and effect. As you do, the greater the urge, the greater the aspiration is to lighten our karma. In fact, it becomes necessary. To experience a shift in consciousness, we must consider the right human relationships between us and the environment and our friends and family and nations. And if you think about that, if you think about the media That's being spoken about all the time now. It's in the mind belt, isn't it? At this time, scientists, philosophers, teachers, investigators in all fields are now seeking a better understanding of the meaning of reality. That reality is changing under the power of thought through individual experience, such as meditation, the connections between the divine and its expression. And we're talking about ourselves there, humanity in nature and the various kingdoms also. The quality of your instrument, your vehicle, your physical body, your emotional and mental bodies. Just want to touch on education here. Back in 1917, sort of between 1917 and 1919, Rudolf Steiner, he was a second-degree initiate. He was a former member of the Theosophical Society, and he also founded the Anthroposophical movement. Now, Benjamin Creme, we talk about him a lot. He didn't always agree with Steiner's concept of the second coming, but where he did admire Steiner was in the area of education. He admired Steiner's educational methods because they worked towards harmlessness. Creme says, in a theoretical and aspirational way, the Steiner schools are trying to understand the child, the student, as an individual soul. Therefore, educate and meet the needs of that individual. And that was and still is by incorporating the threefold Steiner social vision: liberty, equality and fraternity. And equality in particular during the middle school years, that's where the teachers cultivate a more pure reverence for authority. And if you can achieve that through artistic feeling and experience, then the child gets a true sense of the rights of a human being. In fraternity in the high school and university years, the young adult learns intellectual judgment through the cultivation of human love, developing freedom for the social good by working together cooperatively. It's a familiar language, isn't it?
It really is.
So in the economic sphere, every human being is equal before the law. Steiner believed that all educational structure and governance needed to be founded upon freedom, the ideal behind the cultural, spiritual considerations of teaching. So there's one educational system that is working towards harmlessness. That's their goal. Do they always succeed? Of course not. We're human. But Creme often said that of all the educational systems on Earth at the moment, it is moving in the right direction towards where Maitreya wants to take us.
Right.
We have to see the utter necessity for harmlessness. What a line. That was also written by Alice Bailey. We have to see the utter necessity for harmlessness. As soon as we understand that law in the deepest sense, as soon as we really become aware of it as a revelation in our hearts and in our minds, we will cease to create disorder. We will cease to create that imbalance wrought by destructive action. The nearest we can come to it, en masse, is an expression of goodwill. And Maitreya will emphasise the need for goodwill in all relationships over the next 2,500 years.
Okay, guys, look, thanks very much. It's been great to see you again. It's been fun making the program with you. I just want to wrap up. So Peter's been talking about meditation, and if what's in it for me occurs to you around Maitreya's teaching, then transmission meditation. It's beneficial for you as an individual. It's beneficial for the world. If you want to work with the masters, you can do that directly by doing transmission meditation. Nigel's talked about harmlessness, about the benefits of being harmless. You stop the cycle of karma when you practice harmlessness. And actually harmlessness permeates lots of other philosophies and religions. So, and also we talked about a little bit at the start of the program, honesty, sincerity and detachment. So there's three little packages that you can practice as an individual that will bring you closer to Maitreya and understanding the processes that are going on. Honesty, sincerity, detachment, harmlessness, and thanks to Peter, transmission meditation. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All this information can be found on the Share International website, www.share-international.org. Scorpio Books in Christchurch carries the magazine and some books. And also don't forget the podcasts, which are available on the Plains FM website.
We welcome your comments, questions and feedback. Please contact us at emergencenews@gmail.com.
The opportunity to join our transmission is available Monday and Wednesday evenings and Thursday mornings, which gives us the possibility to do a service meditation in conjunction with the Masters.